Hello everyone and welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name's Michael and I'm bitten by a radioactive book. I might have gone totally crazy with my book buying, and so a book haul is in order. I have to show you about 38 books that I got from various different sources, and on top of that, something you have never seen before on my channel. So let's get started. Okay, remember yesterday where I showed something I usually never do, like a physical book on my channel? So we're going to top that. It's going to be crazy. Because actually, a publisher sent like a physical review copy to me, and we're going to have, oh my god, an unboxing. As you have seen yesterday, I'm pretty bad with this. How do I hold this? Okay, stuff like that. Okay, we're going to rip it off because the video will be awfully long, and I'm going to show you what it actually is. And here it comes. And you can see the title because it doesn't have a title yet. On the back of it, it's The Creation Machine by Andrew Bannister. It's the first book in the Spin trilogy. It's a science fiction book, and I talked about it with Paul from Tatra Fantasy on Twitter, and actually the agent of the author approached us and asked us if we want to read and review the book, and I said yes, and although I'm living in Germany, the publisher, sent the book from England to me, so thank you very much for that. It's a May release, and I think, around May you can expect a review from me. But yeah, physical book, review copy. So, let's get into the rest of the books. Next off, we have two review copies. The first one is Central Station by Lavi Tidar. I got this one from NetGalley. Lavi Tidar is the author of the Bookman Chronicles, a trilogy that I really liked, steampunk, and now he has a science fiction book, Central Station, coming out in May. The Central Station is like a space station that is set above Tel Aviv, and below there in Tel Aviv, the people, after like a disease or something like that, disease outbreak, are all of Earth's people are massing under that station around Tel Aviv, and there's a clash of cultures, of course, humans, machines, so that seems to be very interesting, and as with Creation Machine, expect a review in May. Next up, we have another station, and it's Downstation by Simon Morden. Once again, I received that from NetGalley. I'm actually currently reading it, and it came out February 18th, so expect a review hopefully next week when I'm through with it. Short synopsis, it's a portal fantasy. People that work in the London Underground are transported into another reality or a magical land and have to survive there. Very interesting so far. I'll keep you posted. The next three books are a trilogy, and I actually already own this trilogy in physical format, but I didn't own it yet in ebook format and as audiobook, and so I bought the Dragonlands Chronicles, which are Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I don't get into too much about Dragonlance here, because there will be like a separate Dragonlance video coming to you shortly, where I talk about the reading order, how to approach Dragonlance, and you will see Dragonlance quite frequently on my channel, because I'm at least going to reread the Dragonlance Chronicles in the upcoming month, and hopefully a lot of more books from the Dragonlance world. And as we have just spoken about Dragonlance, let's have more Dragonlance. Why not? Because I wanted to read like about the ancient history of the dwarves of the Dragonlance world. I bought the Dwarven Nations trilogy, which is like the founding of the Dwarven Kingdom in Krynn, the world of Dragonlance. It's written by Dan Parkinson. I bought the ebook and the audiobook bundle for the whole trilogy. Already read the first book, Covenant of the Forge, in January, and continue with the second and third book in March and April. Next up we have Battle Mage, an epic fantasy by Stephen Arion. It's the first installment in his Battle Mage trilogy. We're following three characters: Balfruth, who is the battle mage, Vargus, a common soldier, and Talandra, who is a princess and spy master. This seems to be epic fantasy. The second book, I think, comes out in April, and yeah, I bought the first book because it sounded interesting. Next up we have Homeland by R.A. Salvatore, the first installment in the Legend of Drizzt series. As you have seen, I've read this in January and really liked this. Yeah, I want to read the whole Drizzt series. I don't I won't manage it this year, but hopefully I will read some more books of it this year. Yeah, really enjoyed the first one, rated it 4 stars. Next up I bought Dark Orbit by Caroline Eves Gilman, and this is a science fiction book set in her 20 planets universe. A new planet is discovered and people are sent there to discover and investigate. This book has made its round on BookTube SFF, and the SF booktubers had very interesting opinions about it, and so I picked it up. The same goes for A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. A lot of SFF booktubers love this book, say it is like a more character-focused book about relations on a spaceship that is on the way to another planet, as far as I understand it, and it's about the journey and the people on it. Yeah, I was intrigued and I bought it. Next up we have a book that is a reread for me as well. It's The Magician by Raymond E. Feast. This is a bind-up version of Magician Apprentice and Magician Master, the first two books in the Magician trilogy. So if The Magician is the first book, then it is like a trilogy. I've read this before. I have physical copies of the German version of it, but I didn't own it in English yet, and so I bought the ebook and audiobook bundle. Next up we have a book I've already shown you in this month's TBR. It's Under Heaven by Guy Gavriel Kay. It's historical fantasy, which is set in a secondary world that, yeah, really seems to be like ancient China with a little bit of names swapped. It was a very interesting book. I will talk more about it in my monthly wrap-up. Next up we have Aces High. This is edited by George R. Martin. It's the second installment in the Wildcard series. The Wildcard series is kind of a mosaic series where a couple of authors, all or most of them from the writing group of George R. Martin. There is Daniel Abraham involved, for example, who is one part of James S. A. Corey that write the Expanse science fiction series. There are various other authors involved, and it's like a superhero story, but more realistically, maybe the Watchmen approach, with people that have normal problems as well and are not very heroic characters. And this is a long-running series. I think there are more than 20 books in the series. So far I've only read the first book, how it all began, and now I want to continue with the series. Next up, another book from my February TBR. It's The Shadow of the Tatra. I've actually finished this already, really liked it. It's a science fantasy with very interesting world building, very interesting stylistic writing by the author Gene Wolfe, the first installment in his Book of the New Sun series, and I can't wait to continue with the series. The next book I have for you is Dangerous Gifts, the second installment in Gacy Bowles' Babylon Steel series. This is a series where the main protagonist is a female former mercenary who is now a brothel owner, and she's then torn back into the world of fighting and being a mercenary. And that sounded really interesting. The book was on sale. I have the first book, haven't read it, but as the second was on sale and the series sounded interesting, I bought it. Yeah, I do things like that. Next up we have Rebel of the Sands, the first installment in Alwyn Hamilton's Rebel of the Sands series. This is a YA fantasy series. It's about Amani, who's like a sharpshooter. The setting is Middle Eastern, and she wants to escape the town of Dustwalk, where she lives in. Yeah, it sounded very intriguing and interesting, and so I picked it up. The next book I have, I think I don't have to talk a lot about on BookTube, because a lot of YA readers already know this, have read this. It is A Darker Shade of Magic by W.E. Schwab. I haven't read this book so far, heard a couple of good things. It's about alternate realities, alternate versions of London. There's going to be a TV show. There was hype, yeah, and I caved and bought it. So hopefully it will be entertaining. So within the last 2 years, Torcom established like a really well sorted and edited a collection of novellas, and they constantly release novellas on their site. And normally I'm not like a novella reader, but that sounded interesting, so I bought a few of the Tor novellas, 4. Let's talk about them a little bit, or no, actually don't do that, because we're already running late. So I've got The Builders by Daniel Polanski. I mean, it had like rodents with swords on the cover, and they're a mercenary company. Of course I bought it. We also have The Sunset Mantle by Alter S. Rice. I think that is more of a older warrior regaining his glory kind of story. I don't know. We also have The Sorcerer of Wild Deeps, or of the Wild Deeps, by K. Ashanti Wilson. I don't know anything about it, so let's move on. And the last one is The Drowning Eyes by Emily Foster, and I don't know anything about it as well, but all of these were talked about, a lot of people liked them, and I want to get to them. The next book is really interesting. It's Dreaming Death by J. Kathleen Cheney, or Cheney. This is also, as you can assume by the cover, set in a more like Middle Eastern kind of world. We're following Angier, and Angier is a sensitive, and a sensitive can like feel and interpret emotions in a way others can't, and but to have her powers she has to be blind. So the main protagonist is a blind character, and she gets into contact with a soldier, I think, from the Royal Guard, and he has kind of visions, and she is the one to help him interpret them. That seems to be like very interesting and unique, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up we have another novella. This time it's by Brandon Sanderson. It's Mistborn Secret History. A lot of people were really intrigued by it and really loved it. It seems to have some very interesting insights into the Cosmere and the Mistborn world, and so of course I picked it up. Although for a novella it was really pricey, and I don't really know why I have to pay like almost double the amount of a novella just because it says Brandon Sanderson on the cover. Next up we have The Guns of Iveira by Clifford Beale. This is the first installment in his Tales of Valdir series. It has pirates, it has merfolk, it's a fantasy. I picked it up. It's a February release as well, so new book. Another fantasy release is The Tiger and the Wolf by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Here we're following a main protagonist who is a shapeshifter. Actually everyone is a shapeshifter, and the people live in different clans, and the clans can always shapeshift into like their totem animal. And of course this girl, the main protagonist, is like a hybrid of the tiger and the wolf clan, who are normally enemies, and she's able to shift into both the tiger and the wolf form. Yeah, it's a new epic fantasy series called Echoes of the Fall, came out in February. I'm really intrigued. Another February release was Mark Turner's Dragon Hunters. It's the second installment in his Chronicle of the Exile series. I have the first book, haven't read it, but the series concept sounded intriguing, and so I bought the second book on a blind hunch. Next up, we have Winter Witch by Elaine Cunningham. It's the second book in the Pathfinder Tales series. The Pathfinder Tales is a shared universe. It's the first book by Elaine Cunningham in this series. I want to read like more Pathfinder this year, and yeah, so I picked it up. Then we have another February release. This is Toru, Wayfarer Returns. I immediately fell in love with the cover. It's a steampunk alternate reality version of Japan. Yeah, I can't wait to get into it. It seems to be very, very interesting. Next up, we have a book that is also a reread for me. It's Vampire of the Mists. It's by Christy Golden, and it's another shared world. This time it's Ravenloft. It's also same as Dragonlands, same as Forgotten Realms, same as Pathfinder Tales. It's another campaign setting of the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, and Ravenloft is the one that has like horror, gothic horror aspects in it, and this one is about a gold elf who's also a vampire, and he comes into the world of Ravenloft, and there Strahd, the main vampire, the Dracula of this world, kind of rules, and they both clash. And yeah, I've read that in the past, but I want to revisit more of the books I've already read, and I really enjoyed the Ravenloft's scenario when I was younger, so I picked it up. I put up like both covers. One is the one, it's the English one, but that is actually the old one of my German physical copy that I have, and the second one is the new Kindle version that I got. Yeah, I got the audio and ebook bundle as well, and really looking forward to get back into the world of Ravenloft. Next up, we have some books by Mark Hodder of his Burton and Swinburne series. I've just finished the second installment, The Curious Case of the Clockwork Man. Really enjoyed it as well. It's a great steampunk series that matches or mixes humor, over-the-top action, and really great like philosophical and sociological questions. I bought the third installment, Expedition to the Mountains of the Moon, and the fourth installment, The Secrets of... oh, let me have a look. The Secrets of Abu el-Jazdil. And I also bought like the corresponding audiobooks for them. And speaking of audiobooks, the remaining books that I have to show you are books that I already own as ebooks, but didn't have the audio version of, and as I want to read them in March, and I like to swap between reading the ebook and the audiobook, I bought them on audio as well. And we start this segment off with Queen of Fire by Anthony Ryan, the third installment in his Raven Shadow series. I'm just reading Tower Lords, the second installment. I'm about 50-60% through with it. I really enjoy it. It's very different from the first book, but still like enjoyable, and I want to finish the series up next month. I also got The House of Shattered Wings by Elliot de Bodard on audio. This is very interesting. It's like a post-apocalyptic world with angels set in a destroyed Paris. And yeah, I lived in Paris for 3.5 years, so I'm really interested always to read books that are set in Paris. So yeah, I picked it up and want to read it next month. Another book I got the audio version of is The Dinosaur Lairs by Victor Milan. This is epic fantasy in a world, yeah, with knights riding on dinosaurs. So what can go wrong? And last but not least, I want to read more science fiction this year, and I want to try out some authors that I've heard a lot of good things about, and one of them is Peter F. Hamilton. He writes space opera, and his main universe is the Commonwealth universe, and like the first duology that starts the Commonwealth universe, at least chronologically, is the Commonwealth Saga, and it's the first installment is Pandora's Star. I already have the ebook, but I bought the audiobook as well to read and listen to it next month. So there you have it, 38 books in under 25 minutes. Wow, that was a ride. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of me, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I hope you get bitten by a really good book too. Bye.